What's going on, guys? Welcome to Creative Suit Talk. This is episode 6, and we are excited to introduce our next guest, which is Armando Lopez.
What's up, guys? Thanks for inviting me.
Big audience here, as you
Yeah.
can see. You know, this is a
Yeah.
very. We had to book out this space because of how much people were coming to see you.
Yeah. There's a ton of people here.
Yeah.
Like I can see. I wish you guys can see it behind cameras, but it's a bunch of people scream my name.
Yeah, we actually had to mute a lot of. So this is all fixed in audio, but yeah, there's definitely a bunch of people out behind. But how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's like we just wake up early today just to get into this
What's
podcast.
going on, guys? Yo, what's up, buddy? How are you? What are you guys doing here in the park?
Can I ask him a question?
Armando.
What's going on, man? What's up?
Yo, it's good
Can
to
I
see
ask
you.
him a
How,
question?
how,
See
how
you.
are you? Life's good?
Life is good, man.
Great,
Can't
man.
complain.
It's
How
very
is
good to
yours?
see you. Like you specifically right now, it's very good to see.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
It's great.
Yeah. Good to see you too, man.
Yeah, so what's going on with you?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Ton of work. A little bit tired, but you know,
A lot of weddings?
handling peak season. So you know, like how it is in peak season.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. It gets kind of crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Is it mostly weddings or is it like a mix of everything?
I would say like a mix of like events and like
Hey,
weddings.
what's going on, guys? I'm Jesse. How
Oh.
you doing, man? Oh, hey, man. How you doing? Oh, what's going on?
What's up, man?
Oh, hey, Brian. What's going on? You're looking good
Get off
today,
your phone,
man.
by the way.
Yeah.
Oh God. Anyway,
So,
Sorry, where were we?
No, we were just asking like about like events and stuff like that. Like I was telling him like some mix of both, like events and like just kind of like side gigs on the side, like other filmings and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been kind of
Hey, can I ask the
Basic.
questions because he's my guest?
oh, I mean, yeah,
You know,
sure.
Just I had a specific direction.
I just got excited to see him.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
And we
please
haven't
go.
seen each other in a while, like,
Yeah,
what,
yeah,
like 2 weeks.
exactly. Exactly. Go ahead.
Anyway, introducing Armando. Basically, just want to give a quick opening of who you are. Tell the people a little bit about what you do, and
Yeah,
also
sure.
like a little bit about.
So I film couples making up in their weddings. That's what I do for a living. No, I'm kidding. So actually, I just film weddings, events, and you know, have fun with cameras. Film cool people, genuine people. That's my motto and for weddings. So yeah, just like filming genuine people, love stories, and make a cool story about them in their wedding film.
And how long have you been doing weddings for?
I'll say that now it's gonna be about 5 years. I've been
Wow.
doing weddings. Yeah.
Wow, 5 years? I thought you were. Damn. I don't know why I thought you were like
Yeah.
doing it for a
Longer,
less
right?
amount of time.
Oh, I
no,
thought longer.
honestly, less amount of time.
Okay.
Because I feel like I stumbled upon your work, and it maybe it was because I was starting to get into the industry.
Yeah.
And we'll replay the story. Like I found you on Instagram as just like trying to connect with like other like not necessarily competition, but just hey, who else is in my industry? Who's located here? Hey, I know that venue. Okay, like let me connect with so and so. So I followed him, and I remember he was too cool to like follow me back.
Oh, how long did it
And-
take for him to
Oh,
follow you
yeah.
back?
I don't remember, but I was
like,
just
who's
like,
this guy?
but again, I was just following a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I had met you and I had shot for you, and then you had a associate shoot sort of wedding where you weren't going to be present, but there was going to be me and a second shooter, and then it was like Armando V. I'm like, this sounds familiar. I go, I look at the logo, I look at the Instagram, I'm like, oh, this is the guy that doesn't follow me back. Cool.
That's it. You're that guy.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
Like I know you, you don't know me, but I
Yeah.
know you.
But I remember seeing his work, and I was just like, dude, like this guy's like killing it. Like, you know, let me talk to him. So we actually got connected because of you, indirectly. But I had known about him.
But you met him first.
But I never met him before. I just followed
No,
him.
but I'm
on
saying you
Instagram.
ended up meeting him before me, I think, no?
Yes,
Didn't you meet
because
him
Yeah.
before
because
me? Yeah.
but you indirectly
Right.
made that happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You're a matchmaker.
I'm a matchmaker, I guess.
Yeah. You,
Amongst creatives.
You
I think
had
it was
someone-
one of those double booking situations where COVID. Oh, I think that's what it was. You know, during COVID, where like people were rescheduling. I think it was one of those situations where people's dates ended up on top of each other.
Okay.
So it's like I had no choice but to resolve it by figuring out, because I can't be in two places at
Right.
once, obviously.
Yeah.
So I had to problem solve by figuring out who's gonna lead shoot or shoot this other wedding, because now these dates ended up on top of each other.
Yeah.
That happened a lot during that time. Did that happen to you at all? Like reschedulings that ended up landing on the same day?
no, but I had a lot of double headers.
Yeah. I know.
So that was kind of like pain in the butt.
Mhm.
But yeah, I never had that issue But I had other videographers reaching out for that issue.
No, I mean,
Dude,
yeah.
it's so interesting. Like I think we're all at a point where it's like we have the connections of like, hey, if I need to reach out to someone for a second shoot, like I remember it was 2 years ago, peak of COVID. I had gotten COVID, and I was like freaking out because I was like, I don't know anyone. I don't have coverage for this. They paid me already. What do I do? And I had photographers, but no one that did video, especially because it was like my first year like doing video.
Yeah.
And I was like freaking out. I'm like going on Honeybook, putting a bunch of listings out. I was like, I don't know what to do, right? I could refund her, but I was just like, I really didn't want to. So I ended up doing that, and Stanley, mutual, he had done that gig for me. But it's crazy how now I think we're all in a state where it's like, oh, we have our people, we have our roster of like.
But also people that can actually like output or give you the level of content that we need,
Right.
in order for us to be able to like still take the content and actually still have it be comparable to our own work.
Yeah,
and I think that's the big challenge.
And I'm very curious, like just leading into my first topic that I wanted to cover with Armando is like, I want to definitely touch on your background of what you did before you were doing weddings,
Okay.
but basically tying in as well of like the community that you've maybe, the difference in environment that like creatives that you were doing before the weddings, right? And you can go ahead and explain what you were doing before weddings, and then
Okay.
like the people that you know now.
The difference created. So like I don't know if I've been telling Brian a bit about what I did previously, but working for like TV and communication was a big big jump from that to like maybe do weddings. So maybe like doing like the difference with creatives maybe would be that I feel like in weddings maybe you get a little bit more support for a lot of videographers, because remember the videographers you work with other channels, they're there for, together the interview, and if you didn't get it or you fell in some place of another, that's your problem. Make sure you got it next time. If you need to get your snapshot, whatever. For like weddings, it feels more of a, everybody comes together and helps each other. Or I feel the community that I've been with all the videographers is more like that. Like if I'm, I have a double booking for any reason, I had an issue, I'm sick, whatever, you got someone to help you, or you reach out many other videographers that are like willing to help you.
So you're saying the TV world was a lot more like dog eat dog,
Yeah.
pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much in TV. I found a little bit of that, especially especially channels that are like, other videographers that are working for other channels that are not like Hispanic. Like I feel like the other Hispanic channel that I worked between those two, like we had a great relationship. In videographers, we had a great relationship, but other like outside of that Hispanic channels were a little bit more of a, what is the word? Not, I don't want to say aggressive, but were more not. They were not helpful to help you, and they'll make a little bit of your work difficult to get it to do it, because they just want to get their money, Like
Yeah, and they got that pressure. They got probably that corporate pressure.
They got that corporate pressure, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Can we, real quick, like backtrack and talk about how you got into that work, like to begin with? Like, let's go back and get to the beginning of your videography journey.
Okay.
Like, how did that start?
So funny enough, I started doing like YouTube videos. So that's how I started. Like that's how like the passion of like like filming and stuff like that came out to me. Like I started doing like video games and doing like.
You had the Elgato, that screen.
Yeah,
screen
I did
capture
that. I was like,
Yeah,
like 14 or 15 years old when I started doing that. And
15?
Yeah.
Okay.
What'd you think you said?
Yeah.
No, I'm just like, damn, 15 years old, like
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started doing that, and in my high school they had like a film class, so we used to do like short films, stuff like that. And I won like an award in high school, like shooting a short film.
Nice.
Then from there I started like knocking doors, like I started looking at studios around my area, if they need help. Like I just was looking to like get more experience and get more into that industry. Whatever happens, I never had a target in the TV and communications. That was like something, if it happens, but I was just wanted to get more experience in the field, in any field, and video.
And at this point, you're still in high school. You're
Yeah.
going to college. Are you plan on going to college? What's college look like?
So I was planning to go to college. I had a few acceptance to a few college. I got a few letters from them, but I still wanted, like, I think that was during my junior year, at the end of junior year, where I start like knocking a lot of like doors, just to get like a little bit of experience, even if it is like something that is not paid or anything, but just to get a little bit of experience. And one of those doors, one of those doors actually opened in a small studio in Union City, where they actually were filming a show for Azteca Studios. I don't know if you're aware of Azteca Studios, but like Azteca is like a Mexican channel, and sometimes they also like, I think you can also see it here, but you have to buy like the Mexican or Hispanic channels to like get.
I'm a fake Mexican. I don't know any of the channels.
Okay, so I started there. Funny enough, and there's a little bit of drama in this story, because actually I got fired from that studio.
Let's
but
get into it.
Wake up call.
because the owner actually wanted me to do a lot of stuff that I didn't know. Like they were finishing doing the final touch for the studio, like lighting and stuff like that, and I was supposed to be assisting him to like, manage the cables, make sure the inventory is correctly, every equipment is back to, and like a lot of the stuff that he wanted to do, like lighting and stuff like that, I didn't know any of that. Like
So now, just sorry, I don't mean to
Yeah.
cut you up, but up until this point, you've been filming video games, like your
Yeah.
own recordings. That's all the experience you have going into
Yeah.
to that. Okay, and then do you explain like, hey, this is where I'm at in my career, just starting out, like
Yeah.
And
setting
also,
expectations.
just to paint this picture, was this paid or unpaid at the time?
This was on the time on paid.
Unpaid.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if I consider it getting fired if it's unpaid.
No,
but
it's still. I guess it still is. I'm
I
just
mean, it's an
wondering. Like,
internship, technically.
I guess I'm trying to get a sense of
Internship,
what
yeah.
the expectations were for you.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. So then after that, like I think he told me like, hey, take a break. Like we're actually trying to get this show going, but we don't know when it's gonna start. And then I feel like in a sense he was trying to like find someone else with more experience. So I feel like he let me go. And funny enough, I still remember vividly this. I was in the movie theater with my girlfriend, and I got a call from him, and he was like, hey, camera guy canceled on us. It was like 7, and they were gonna start rolling at 9. And I was about
PM, right?
Yeah, 9 p.m. So I was
Who's watching a movie at 7 a.m.?
Like, hey, you could be
Sorry.
out on judge.
10 a.m. Who's gonna watch a movie at 7 a.m.?
Hey, if that's what
Brian?
you're into, man.
Sorry,
It's okay.
details.
Okay, 7 p.m. He calls me. He's like, hey, we need someone to be here. Like a last minute we offer cancel, and we need a camera guy. So I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. And I ended up like leaving the movie theater early, got straight to the studio, and I met like cool people, like the director there. I met like one of the hosts. I don't know if you're aware, like her name, Gloria B. From it's like a famous radio station in La Mega. Gloria B.
It sounds familiar.
Maybe by face.
Okay, so she's been in the in radio for a long time. So she was the main host in that TV show, and kind of like from there I started like did a great job filming. The director really loved my attitude, like how I was doing things, like willing to like check little details, like give them like willing to like work, because a lot of videographers they're like there and like, hey, I'm just here to like put my camera, check the exposure, check that, and like call it a day.
Yeah. So you went above and beyond.
Yeah, like I check audios. I was like checking and helping other people.
Now, real quick, how did your girlfriend feel about this? Because now the movie had finished, or like you were just about to go watch it?
I think we were about to like finish the movie, and I told her like I need to leave, and it's like I need to like get this, and I couldn't say no and just be like, hey, we're just chilling here, but like I really wanted to like have an opportunity like that, so I just went for it. Yeah.
And you guys are still together today, right?
Yeah, we're still together.
Look at that.
Was there a
Beautiful
fight that
support.
happened with that, or she was like, no, I get it, like.
She got it. She was like, hey, I get it. Like, you want to start in this industry. You want to have a little bit of experience. So she got it. She went back home, and I got her, like, I think, an Uber to get to the
What a
studio.
gentleman.
What did
That's
What a
awesome.
gentleman.
What I was gonna say though, with this situation, so this was a situation where when they called you, because this guy was the guy that fired you, right?
Yeah.
You could have been like, you know what, screw this guy, I'm not gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
instead, you decided, this could be a good opportunity for me, and then it paid off, right?
Yeah, it paid off. Actually, I got hired and got paid the couple of shows after. And I met that director, and I met someone there actually that got me into the wedding industry, and was one of the hosts too.
So this all had this epic trickle effect then.
Yeah,
from that
it's
one
like-
decision.
Yeah, so after a good decision, I always say like if you make like one decision in your life, it gonna trickle down to other good decisions. So that's kind of like what happens. I met other people that got me into other industries and learn new things and got me to a better position, a better job after that. So yeah.
So I'm curious. Sorry, is that your parents' upbringing? Like, where do you learn that philosophy or that mindset of, hey, this, almost like good karma, so to speak? Like, where do you think you instilled that mindset?
Maybe from my parents, I would say, because they always been that type of people that like they'll go and work and go above and beyond, no matter what they get paid. Because at the end of the day, they understand their relationships are more important than money. Because at the end of the day, if you need a hand or someone or something like that, people are gonna remember that you helped them out. People are gonna remember that you did something above and beyond for them. So that's kind of like, I think I learned it from them. And they also give me a great advice for like when I got into the industry. They were like, if you gotta work into 3 a.m., work into 3 a.m. Like, things are gonna get better, but you just gotta like keep grinding,
Shout out to community.
Yeah.
'Cause it sounds like strong family community, and then your girl supporting you too.
Yeah.
So, hey, that sounds amazing.
It's interesting. I have this I had this discussion about 2 years ago with a friend of mine, and one thing we talked about, because he was dealing with one of his employees or vendors that just, he was there to do the job, right? Like, he showed up, he did what he had to do, but then there was this level of like, I give these guys work, like, how could they do this? Because then when he called in for a favor, they couldn't necessarily do it, right, for other reasons. And the one thing I learned when all that was happening was like, I think what you said is great, and I believe 100% in like good karma, but there has to be a level of, I'm gonna do this, and if I don't get anything back from it, I take full accountability that I'm still going through with it. If it does, great, but if it doesn't, I'm not gonna sweat it. I'm not gonna look at them and say, hey, F you, because I did this for you and I called this favor.
About to get killed by acorns up in here.
So I think it's definitely, because one thing I want to touch on, for example, is like, what do you say to people that like, okay, you know what, Armando's a great guy. Oh, he believes in this. And like, have you ever been taken advantage of your kindness, where it's like, oh, this guy's like pretty much like willing to do anything and everything because that's his mindset and things like, have you ever felt like you've been taken advantage of, or is there anything that you can recall from that?
I feel like in the industry, especially our industry, a lot of people take advantage of you just because you're young and you don't understand the industry. So there were times where like actually I was doing pretty much everything in the studio. Like, I was doing like camera guy, I was filming, I was maintaining the studio, which is another job. We literally, maintaining the studio is pretty difficult because then you gotta make sure like lighting, stuff like that are not failing. You gotta check like that every cable is properly secure, and you gotta make sure. And they were actually filming other shows during that time too, so I was helping them with other shows. When we were working for Azteca, so actually Azteca hired the studio, or they got the studio to film this show. But there's other companies that hire them to do other shows. So like, I was helping a ton, and obviously the pay wasn't that great either. Like, I got it more for the experience to at a certain point. But it was, you kind of sense a little bit of people taking advantage of you. And then you kind of realize that a little bit later on the line. So how I started learning, so from that experience, I learned how to, and to what point, give too much and start like,
So do you think there's a period of paying your dues that everybody has to go through, kind of thing? Like, you have to hustle X, Y amount until you pay your dues. But then, like, when do you, because we've asked each other this question too, like, when is the line? Like, where's the line? Like, when do you say, like, okay, now I can ask
You start
for,
making demands. You start saying, hey, this is how I operate. It's no longer going to be like this.
Actually, one of the reasons that I quit that studio and I went to like now Telemundo was because of that same reason. Was I found myself like I was doing too much for too little, and I asked for a raise. I was like, hey, I need, you need to pay me more. Like, I'm editing your shows now too. Like, I'm not just filming, but I'm maintaining the studio, editing your shows. Yes, you have me full time here, but you're not paying me what like.
So
it's
that was a
appropriate for the
conversation you were
industry."
trying to have.
Yeah.
So really quickly, because I think that's a very important conversation to have, especially when you hit that threshold of just like, I'm burning out. I feel like I'm just like, like I'm doing all this. I'm definitely worth more, right? You're building up to have that conversation. Can you describe, if you can recall exactly how that conversation went? Like, how did you show up that day? Did you show up like extra, because you knew you were gonna have a conversation to that caliber? You're like, okay, like I need to maybe bring coffee, or like, like you're setting things up. Can you recall what happened? Because I think it'd be very insightful for people that are hitting that point, or maybe they're just starting, seeing, okay, this is some signs that he looked out for. He was feeling this way. Okay, I'm ready to do it. How do I go about it?
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, it's like important, I think, because a lot of creatives, they let it get up to that point of resentment.
Yeah.
So how do you prevent it from getting to that point of resentment where you're just like it's building up and you're pissed and like you want more, but you're not speaking up for yourself, or you're not initiating that conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that feeling. But during that time, I think it was just a mix of like I was doing a lot of work, and I was talking to actually the graphic designer during that time, and he actually talked to the boss and told him, hey, I want a raise, and he actually gave it to him. So he kind of motivated me to talk to him. He's like, hey, like just have a nice conversation with him, tell him your points, what you're doing, and just set some expectations too, of like, what will you do moving forward if you get a raise? And that's kind of what I did that day. I was like, I asked him, hey, are you available for this time to talk? And he was like, yeah, sure, after work we can talk. And I had a conversation with him saying like, hey, I thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate you helping me through this journey of like learning, because actually he was the first person to give me a hand, fire me and give me a hand again too.
That's interesting.
Give me a hand again to get into the industry. Met awesome people that later on the line helped me, and because I asked him, hey, I feel like I've been doing a lot and I learned my dues of being a newbie in the industry, and like now I'm doing professional. I got like directors are loving it, people are give compliments about the work.
Receipts.
Yeah, I came with the receipts. Like, the host is loving me. She's asking all the time for me when we get into the studio. Like, a lot of people really love my work. I really appreciate if you can give me like a raise, And he was like, you know what, Armando, like I totally understand your point. And during that time, I was about to hit a year in that company.
And you're what, 16, 17 at this point?
Yeah, I was getting started in my senior year, so I was like 16.
Okay.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
You gotta say that. That's really impressive.
That's why I was like, wow, 15 and you're already starting to do stuff.
Yeah, so then I was like, okay, so he was like, I totally understand, and something along the lines of, to try to divide the question, and but we would love you to stay, whatever. And I was like, but he told me like, no, in a nicer way.
Yeah.
And I was like,
he just deflected, and it was just like, okay.
And I totally got it. I didn't get like very like angry or anything. I was like, I totally get it. And I kind of like after that, I just moved on and I got an opportunity to work in another channel. And
now, was that immediately after, or that's when you started to proactively look for or you already had that lined up before the conversation of?
So actually, a few months before that, I got contacted by a producer that he wanted to film an event, and well, I filmed that event, and he loved my work, and he gave me an opportunity, and it was conflicting a lot also with my schedule, so I had to make a choice too at that point too. But
that was the Telemundo producer?
Yeah, but I was working nights on that studio, and I was working like morning, like kind of like after school.
When did you go to school?
Hustling,
when did you go to school?
Bro, like during senior year, I caught a lot of, like I didn't cut my classes, but I did all my classes in the 3 years, so I was leaving early. I was leaving like at 12.
Man, most people skip to go party or whatever. Like this guy's skipping to go hustle, work.
Yeah, no, but it was legally skipping. Like I arranged my schedule in order to work for this studio. So I could take extra classes, but I didn't take in my senior year extra classes. I told my counselor, hey, I just want the classes that I need to graduate, and I don't want to take any extra classes. And so I used to leave at 12. So from there, I used to go to that studio, and then around like my first opportunity with Telemundo, I didn't go to that work and actually went and filmed with them. But yeah, just like to answer your question, it kind of like I already had something like a proposal from that channel, from that producer, and I kind of just want to like see all my cards on the table and see what I can actually move forward.
Right.
Because like if I wouldn't move with that studio, I probably was still working there because the guy still had that studio, but maybe not get paid what I actually was worth.
And now, how did you go about dissolving that relationship, working for them, and then moving on to the?
So it was just kind of like, hey, I'll give you my 2 weeks notice.
That same day conversation?
No,
or was it like
I think it was. I talked to the producer, for the Telemundo producer, and he told me like, hey, we like your work, and I told Brian the story about like the feeling of doing the first thing outside with Telemundo, but
which I think we should definitely
The what?
recall.
What was this?
Just he'll get it.
Yeah, we get there.
Okay.
But it was just like 2 weeks notice after maybe like a week after the conversation, and I talked to the other producer. The producer got me into the first gig, and from there kind of like just went up from there. Like I went up from that.
And so, just to paint the picture, what kind of content is this? Once you get to Telemundo, like what kind of work is this?
It was
exactly?
like a show, like a gossipy show.
So like an online, online show?
No, it was
So this is
actually
live TV,
aired.
This is
right?
all
It
TV?
was- yeah,
So-
it was
so
all
this is
But it wasn't live.
broadcast?
Yeah, it was
It
broadcast.
is broadcast, okay. Got it.
It was. I don't know if you know the show Así Somos, which is like the show was Suelta la sopa, spill the soup.
I am not gonna sit here and lie and
You know
act
that?
like I watch. No,
You
like
watch
I
Spanish
really
channels?
watch Telemundo
Okay.
or whatever. It's always like in
All I
passing
know
with
is
family.
Casera.
I know
Yeah.
I know they air for 7 years, and even after I left there, I think they still air it, and then like they cancel it. Either they finish the show, they cancel it. I'm not too sure.
So
But
this
it
is like
was-
cam op studio work,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah, but I
This
was
is all in Union City?
Huh?
Where is this studio?
So the studio that I work, that was with this
Azteca was Union City. but
Azteca. Yeah, it was in Union City. That one, I filmed this show called Así Somos. That's how we are. I filmed that show for like about a year, and then from there I moved to Suelta la sopa, which is spill the soup with Telemundo.
All right, man. I feel like you're being a little too humble. And I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. Like, is this a show where like celebrities come on? Like,
Yeah, like
come on.
like
I'm trying to get the. Like,
You're trying to get your-
like,
your-
talk yourself up.
Okay, so
Sorry.
like, well, I met a few celebrities with Así Somos, which is the one in Azteca. I met Bob Marley's son there. I met like a few NFL players. And when I moved to Telemundo, I guess I upgrade celebrities because I actually met like, I covered like the 60 Grammy Awards
Oh, wow.
that was in Madison Square Garden.
Dope.
That was
Uh,
your first.
Yeah,
Live.
during that time,
And how old are you now at this point?
like 16, 17.
Jesus Christ.
He's
this guy's
barely legal.
A phenom.
He's barely
Yeah.
18 doing all these gigs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I did a couple. I stayed there for close to 2 years, and I did a lot of gigs and a lot of like met a lot of celebrities. During that time, Luis Fonsi was very famous because of Despacito.
Fonzie.
Oh, okay, that was that era.
So like I saw Luis Fonsi like 4 times during that year because we were behind him all the time,
Yeah.
like finding where he was and like interview him, and yeah, it was
So
pretty
how
fun.
is he as like a person, as an individual?
I mean, he's a cool guy. Like the times that I met him, he was very humble to give interviews. Remember, like where he was in his career before Despacito is way different where he's at right now.
Yeah.
He was, I think, I don't want to say he's starting out, but he was trying to get a little bit of in momentum. And once he hits Despacito, that's when he actually got some momentum to actually, get well known worldwide.
So really quickly, I just want to, because I want to segue into that story. So you're doing stuff for Telemundo. They have all the camera and equipment. You're working within a studio, right?
I'm not working with the studio because the studio was in Miami.
Okay.
So they have different reporters and different cities
Okay.
in the country. So they will have one in LA, they have one in Chicago, they
New
will have
York.
one in in Texas, whatever. Like they have different reporters, but the main studio is in Miami, which I never went. Like I never met any producers in Miami. I only met the producer here in New York City.
So you're not working out of a studio. You're working from home technically.
Yeah.
Okay, but just remotely staying in touch with them.
Yeah,
and,
like I might can go to their studio here, which I did. Went to that studio just to meet like a few people there, but mainly it was like more of like on the go. Most of the time.
So you would show up. So I'm just trying to imagine, paint a picture. It's just like almost like a news reporter style,
kind of, yeah.
where so you're showing up, you're the camera up, go, and then you're recording.
Yeah.
So that equipment that you're using, is that their equipment or is it all yours? And then
No, or like my equipment. And you'll be surprised. There's a ton of videographers here that works for like companies that their main studios is maybe in LA. They have their own equipment here. They'll film it. They'll do all the. They might send you the live. I think it's called Live U. This is the one that they stream.
Okay.
They might send you that for broadcasting live, but most of your stuff is your equipment.
So were you the Latin Nightcrawler?
Have you ever seen Nightcrawler?
You ever seen Nightcrawler?
No, it's not.
It's basically this guy used to.
Jake Gyllenhaal,
spoiler
right?
alert.
Jake
Yeah, Jake
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird at first, and then I started watching. It's actually really good.
It's a good movie. You should watch.
It's basically this guy that wants to get into the news broadcasting, like late night news, breaking news.
Okay.
And so he basically gets to a point of fabricating these stories where he will then commit the crimes and then be the first on scene to record
like
them.
at night and everything.
Yeah.
So you out there at night, like hustling, like looking
Yeah.
for stories, like
Yeah.
stuff like that, or is it more like they called you and you go?
So actually, as a videographer, like a cameraman, you usually don't get too much involved in the stories. Or like finding stories is the producer here that is their main job to find those stories and keep you working during those weeks.
So you get, what is it? You get a call? How's the schedule?
Yeah.
Like walk us through what it looks
usually how it used to go was we meet up like maybe once a week with the producer and like talk about the next stories for that.
Now,
for
is this
that
a
month.
lunch? Is this at an office? Where is this?
During that time, he used to live very close to me, so we just used to like hang out like at a restaurant or something. We talk about like the future things that was gonna happen for the next week, and then he will schedule me, have me in the schedule for those dates, and kind of like from there we used to go and film it. He used to like manage everything, so everything was by email. So like talk to like the managers of these artists, talk to like the APA, all that stuff.
By the way, I just want to clarify because I know we're talking a lot of Spanish references.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the show is basically Spill the Soup or Spill the Tea.
Yeah.
So it's like basically like news updates with like celebrities and things like that.
Yeah.
Reality
Gossip,
TV, TMZ, gossip.
like
there.
gossip.
Gossip,
right?
Yeah, kind of like they were trying to do something very similar to TMC, but more like professional. Because I know TMC gets a lot of like paparazzis.
That's
and
real
that.
Nightcrawler stuff.
Yeah, that's really
Is what
Nightcrawler.
TMZ
We
is.
didn't used to do that
Yeah.
just because I guess maybe the money is not out there for that type of thing. Like what we used to do it was more of a New York City, like a lot of events happen in New York City all the time. So a lot of artists come to New York City for those events. We're talking about like a New York Fashion Week, like other events, maybe New Year's Eve.
And so, scheduling wise, was your schedule kind of random, more or less? Like you didn't really have like a set schedule. It was more like whenever they need you, you're out, you're there, or kind of thing.
So I was always on the call to get called if there was something happening, but we used to arrange at least like 1 or 2 things per week to do that was not non-artist related,
Okay.
about maybe New York City or maybe I went to different places like the famous pizzeria. A lot of famous artists go there and eat pizza, or same for like the famous barber that cuts pretty much all the baseball players. And so we used to do that and combine it with artists.
Okay.
So we used to arrange that for like the next week or next 2 weeks, and be on call for like if an artist comes in New York City and like wants to like do a party or something like.
Now I'm curious, and this might, you don't have to necessarily go into. Well, I'm just curious. Like, what does that gig like pay? Like when you're starting, or if you're filling in that role,
very
being
personal
on call.
question.
I know it's a very personal question, but that's why I like to ask personal questions. Is like what would be like a pay for someone that's interested in doing something like that? Like what's like the range? You don't have to necessarily give. A
So
specific
actually
range.
during
it's one
that
of those
time,
demon.
during that
wasp
time,
thing. whatever.
I didn't know anybody that told me that, and it was I kind of just like, hey, I just like Google it and be like, hey, how much some videographers get paid? And like Google really don't define anything of that. Like they will just do a wide variety of videographers, and like different areas of the industry you get paid differently. So I saw anything between like $25 and $100 an hour, and I'm like, how much should I get paid?
It's tough in the
That's a
beginning.
big range,
It's tough.
right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a big range. So I think went for the middle, like $45 of.
And you were setting these demands. It wasn't like they were offering you, hey, this is what we pay for this role.
No, because everything was with the producer, so he already knew my hourly rate. He knew like how much I was gonna get paid. He knew that when I was on call, whatever happens. So that was kind of like how I was paid. Now you can get paid as an hourly VR for the channel. Like if you get actually your W2, everything like that, you can get paid with a W2. But then you're limited for the amount of hours. Because I met a lot of videographers that work for the channel like that. But the problem with that is like with gossipy channels, you can't do that because sometimes you go to a show and the show starts at, let's see, it starts at 6, right?
Yeah.
But the main artist that you want to interview, he might not want to give you the interview until the end of the show.
Oh.
So you're there for that
You're at their
entirety.
mercy.
You're at their mercy, so you gotta wait until maybe 11 that he goes out and sing, or does his show, and then he finishes around 12. Maybe if he sings 2 hours, you're gonna have to wait until 1 a.m. in the morning to interview him.
Yeah.
So you already did like 8 hours just in that alone.
So hourly would be the better way to go, you think, as opposed to like being a salary.
Yeah, an hourly would be better way to go just because you can charge so much and get better. Some people say no, but most of the time with those type of channels, like you're gonna be at least out there 8 hours just to cover like an hour.
And I think it seems fair, right? Like it shouldn't be, like if you're only filming for like, let's say 30 minutes of the interview, or let's say an hour, but you're there on location with your gear, you already set up the track, like everything for 8 hours, like why would you not get compensated for that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know people that get paid. I met another videographer there that his minimum was $1,000
For the day, I assume.
for the day. Yeah, no matter what time of hour he was. And actually, that's kind of when I realized I was like, oh, you know what?
You should
maybe I
start
should stick to that.
Yeah.
But then you learn and you do your thing. But yeah, you can manage those two depending of like your experience too. Because if you charge $1,000, that guy was carrying like a Sony. I don't know during that time FX7 or something like that. It was a pretty big camera, and I was just filming with my DSLR camera. So
What did you have? Do you remember the model?
So I kind of upgraded through a year. So the first year I had a Canon 60D or something like that, and then from there I moved up to like a Panasonic actually video camera. That was I think it was 4K or 1080p.
So someone could get into broadcast work theoretically
With a camcorder?
with like a DSLR or mirrorless.
Oh yeah, like I actually had previously helped my parents to get into Despierta America in the restaurant.
I know that.
You know that Despierta America?
Of course, I grew up with that.
The Spanish community is
every
coming
day
at him.
before school.
Like, does this
Okay,
guy
so
know?
actually, it's funny to see this videographers kind of like slowly transition to like mirrorless digital cameras, because I was thinking like, whoa. To my knowledge, when I was there, they used to have these big ass cameras that like
Big light.
They're heavy, big lights with this big lens, and that was how they broadcast it. Especially, that's how they broadcast it. When they went to my parents' restaurant to film a gig, like to film a note there, the guy was with a FX3. I was like, yo, that's not.
Well, now the MLB, they broadcast with gimbals, like running around with the players, and it looks like a video game. Like at first, when they first came out with that in NFL too, I was like, is this real life or is it a video game? Because it mimics like the video game movements.
Yeah.
And it's like I never thought that we would get to a point where we could use those cameras for broadcast. It's awesome.
Yeah, and they broadcasted live, so they have like a live view, I think it's called, which is like a small box that has like the internet and all that stuff together. So you just plug into the HDMI. And that's it. You're broadcasting. That's like
If you
how
want
you
to get into broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen, live view.
Live view. Live view.
I do have a question about broadcasting. I know we got a story to get to, but I think that this would be important too for people that are newer and they don't know if they want to go broadcast or they want to go digital or whatever. would you say that broadcast work is creative? Like, can it be creative? Is it creative? Or, like, since you actually worked in that world,
Yeah.
like, what would you argue? Is it a creative type of work or not so much?
Actually, I always had this like conversation with the other videographer and the other channels, because we got to a point where we actually got very friends, and like we actually have each other's phone number and we talk once in a while. And one of the things that when we used to go to like red carpets for like short films, we used to go to like New York Film, like Tribeca and all that stuff, where we used to meet a lot of like directors and all that stuff, and it was pretty cool. We had this conversation, was like, we're doing something for the moment, right? We're filming this, and tomorrow they will put it on TV, and the next day
Forget about it.
they will forget about it. That's how it works. And we used to talk about like how these directors are making things that people are gonna rewatch it and like do it again and rewatch it again for years to come, and like what we're doing is more of like a moment and that's it. And nothing wrong with that, you know, like if that's your type of filming and that's what you like to do and you like to be with celebrities and do this type of things, there's nothing wrong with it. But like you don't have that much creativity or on those type of
So how did you
broadcasting.
feel at the time doing that work? How did you feel internally, your creative side? Did you feel that there was like this, I'm not fulfilled, or how are you feeling?
So the first year, I always kind of like any job that you start new is like the honeymoon phase. The honeymoon phase can go from like 6 months when you start a new job to like a year, and then from there kind of like start fading out like what you're doing. Like you start getting burnt out, and it was a moment on my during that time in my second year where like I was talking to this videographer that I often talk to about like films and all that stuff. He told me like, hey, take a break, maybe you need to take a break. I took a break, and after I came back, I was like, you know, like I don't feel like this is for me.
How long of a break?
It took like a week. Like they gave me only a week, because even though I was on call, like they gave me a week to go. But yeah, you kind of start feeling burnt out after a while, after you start meeting celebrities and stuff. And like once I started like getting used to it, like my parents like, oh, what do you see today? I was like, oh, I saw like just a typical day, like Jennifer Lopez, stuff like that. And my parents said,
No, I can relate to that because I used to work for a studio where we were
Yeah.
involved with big brands and celebrities. And in the beginning, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is so cool. And like you're telling
Yeah.
your friends, and your friends are like, whoa, da, da. But then like after a while, like you said, the honeymoon phase kind of phases out. And you're like, yeah, I'm getting to work with these big names and these big people, but I'm not creating the kind of work that I really want to be creating. Or at least that's where I felt. So
Yeah.
to me, it's like that kind of stuff after a while was like, how do I say this? Like it wasn't fulfilling, even though it was really big names and cool stuff. It was just like, eh.
I think you
Like,
get
it-
like this clarity of just like what's important and what's
Yeah.
like, you know, celebrities again. I'm like, there have been times where I'll run into someone that's a name and I get like, oh my God, I'm like nervous to talk to them. But then I think about it more and more. It's just like, this guy's just a dude.
That's what it
being
is.
a dude,
That's what it is. Like you
right?
realize that they're just people.
Yeah.
That just like everybody else. So.
And then you get to a point where and I will say I've had experiences where there are some individuals that they believe that their status gives them all the privilege to sort of say, hey, you know, like, you're lucky, kid. Like, you'd be lucky to be
near me. Like that's what
you
Brian
know?
tells me every day. That's what he tells me every day.
I mean, listen, I work with
crazy.
celebrities
I've
so
been
much.
getting
No, I'm
abused.
kidding. But yeah, it's interesting because so you have that clarity of, you know, okay, all right, that's cool, you know, the celebrities, but like, I'm just really covering like what they ate for, you know, or I don't know, like, you know,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
something that like, where's the fulfillment, right? Like, where are you getting now? For example, for me, right now in my time and place that I'm at personally, I'd be super honored to, you know, be near or work with a guy like Iman Gatsi, which is a guy that I've just been watching, consuming his content. He started out creating work for businesses, and he's not like big in the creative business by any means, but you see the way that he speaks and just like a lot of philosophical stoic principles. That's what I would get fulfillment of. Like, I don't even have to do anything creative for you, but being in that circle of maybe like
Right.
covering stuff like broadcasting, I would be open to doing stuff like that.
But if you had to do it every day,
But I think
How
you're
do you
around
think?
you're around an environment. Again, now if it's changing different environments, because
Yeah.
you're meeting Prince Royce, then you're meeting Jennifer Lopez, who's dating so and so, and who's doing all that. Like, again, how does Jennifer Lopez dating this guy help my life?
Yeah,
Right? Because again, we all have to look at it from what do we get from it, as much as you're doing this great work of filming, reporting this news. But it's like, we're at the end of the day, if you're gonna be doing it, you have to gain something from it.
Right.
Like, some people are really into drama.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, hey, they would love to do stuff like record on, I don't know who's another artist, I don't know, Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber and the Selena Gomez, and like the relationships, and asking them these questions. I was watching a video, and you see like these paparazzis. It was like the Nelk Boys. I don't know if you're familiar with the Nelk Boys, but they did like pretending to be a paparazzi, and it was like these. It was like, if you go to NYC and you have a camera, and you see someone like in Soho or someone that you could tell that's into fashion, and you just start directing them, they will literally do anything
They'll just
because
start.
they feel, oh my God, like cameras are on me. Let me.
Yeah.
It's like, and it was so hilarious because they were like, let me see. They'd bring the camera so close to their mouth and be like, mouth open. Yeah,
And they would do it? Yo, I gotta see that.
They would
I
do
gotta
it.
check that out.
And
Yeah.
and I'm just like, again, it's a bit and it was all funny. But you look at it for people that actually do that as work. What fulfillment do you get? And again,
Nope.
me personally, I don't get any fulfillment from it. I don't see any incentive.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a perspective, right?
Yeah,
Of what they're dealing with. But
I think it depends, like, what you try to achieve in life, right? If it is, if you're just planning to live out of broadcasting, you can definitely make a living. I met a lot of videographers, camera guys that they definitely love their job because, you know, they get a chance to go back home every day. They get the chance to, like, you know, to have a more, like, for us videographers, we don't have a time, right? Sometimes we have to go on weekends.
Very
sometimes-
unpredictable schedule.
Very
pretty
unpredictable
much.
schedule, exactly. For them, it's like they have already a set schedule. They, you know,
And there is a beauty in that too.
There's a beauty
for
into
sure. If
that,
you want
yeah.
that lifestyle, definitely, I agree.
Yeah.
Because I could see it being something where, like, especially once you have family and kids and stuff,
yeah,
your priorities shift.
it shifts
So-
a little bit. I met a lot of videographers that they have families, so that for them it was like, you know, I make this gig or whatever. I do this. I have a schedule. I can go film it. I get also benefits because if you're like actually you get hired by the company and you're in a W-2, you get benefits and stuff like that.
That's
so
true.
the benefits are great. They have a union too, so you're protected as a videographer. So they cannot like abuse you or be like, hey, you gotta stay here until 1 a.m. and then they're gonna have to pay you overtime because you're in a
it's
union.
less volatility. You have more security.
You got more security, but you trade that for creativity.
Right.
That you're not gonna be as creative because it's a trade-off at the end of the day.
So now going and segueing a little bit into a funny story of your so now you were doing these. Now is this your first gig with this company?
Yeah. So I still remember very vividly because I anything that could have gone wrong, it went wrong. So
Wait, say that again.
everything that could have gone wrong went
Gone wrong. Got it.
Day
Went
one.
wrong.
Oh, day one. This is the
this
first
day one,
This
right?
is the first day.
First day.
Oh my God. Okay.
I was already give two weeks notice for the other studio, so they, you know, I was like, I need to go all in with this.
Got to bring my
the-
best foot forward. First
the-
day of work.
Yeah.
I don't know where this is going.
So producer calls me and he's like, hey, I meet you at Madison Square Garden. We're gonna film. He never told me the artist until like last minute because I think it was something happened, whatever. He told me we're gonna film Prince Royce. During that time, Prince Royce was kind of still a little bit famous. He was.
Was this
you know,
when Prince Royce and Romeo were like, they were like the bachata?
The Kings.
The Kings,
or-
yeah.
But
I
it was
mean,
like big. It was like no, like that was like the big
Yeah.
debate. It was
Back
like
and
no,
forth.
Romeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What,
I mean, he
what
feel
year
like
was
he-
this? Do you remember what year it was?
2000. I think it was 2015 or 16.
Around that time. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, he filled out Madison Square
You were what,
Garden,
like
so
30?
I'm like, you remember him? You like, your family listened to Prince
My
Royce?
memory is fuzzy, but you know, back in those days.
Back in those days?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I met my producer in Madison Square Garden. Mind you, I had a DSLR camera. He told me like, yeah, bring it like whatever. Like we're gonna film the event. Do you have like a microphone? Yeah, I had a microphone.
And you have no idea it's Prince Royce at all.
I had idea like he told me like a few hours before,
Oh,
like
man.
when he called me and be like, hey, you're gonna meet me in Madison Square Garden. See you there.
No time to go to B&H and get like the best mic and like
Yeah.
the best this and
No,
that.
no time. It was like,
So now are you like, okay, let me check my bag, let me make sure all this, like before you get to Madison Square Garden, like what is happening?
so
at
the
home?
thing is that, like I was working in a studio environment, so everything's controlled, lights, everything. Like you even plug your cameras. There is no battery running on cameras. You plug it into the wall, or they have a.
I really don't like where this is going, but yeah, keep going.
So I wasn't prepared for filming something outside. So I checked my camera bag. I was like, I got the camera, I got a kit lens, I got a microphone.
Can't forget that kit lens. Kit lens.
The kit lens.
Kit lens,
Kit lens is
18 to
essential.
55. That's all that I
Is
need.
it 4 point something?
Oh yeah, with
probably.
the 4.5,
Yeah.
Yeah, that went to.
Do you have an ND filter?
No, I didn't.
Was this at night? I assume.
Yeah, it's in the
Oh,
Madison
was that
Square
night?
Garden.
Okay. Oh, but you're four. Oh,
I
God.
got this cheap light in Amazon.
What
that
camera
was,
is this? What camera was
This
this?
is
60D.
This is the camera.
Okay.
I got this lighting that I bought from Amazon. That was an LED. That
Like a
was
little
like
top, like that goes
the
on the
most
camera.
cheap one that you can like think of.
Man.
And you plug so
This is 16.
remind you that a
I
lot
know.
of those
Yeah, you're right. I guess,
remember remind you that a lot of these like broadcasting videographers they carry wireless mic
Right.
for a reason. But I had a wireless mic on my camera.
A wired mic?
Yeah.
So
that
it
you
was like a
transfer from-
wired lav? Is that what it was?
No, like converting from XLR to like 3.5, something like that.
Okay.
I don't know how he did it, but it was like something like 3.5. And I had this, those like audio interference.
Yeah, interfaces.
Interfaces
Yeah.
that you put on the 60D that people used to plug the XLRs and they go with 3.5 millimeters.
I think so.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. The adapters, basically.
Yeah, like you buy it and then you can connect like XLR mics.
Okay.
So I got that, and I was like, all right, I'm good to go. And I was like, the most important thing, batteries. I'm like, I only have one battery. No. This must be good for like, it's just an interview. Like, and I asked my producer, I was like, hey, it's just interviewing and capturing, because when you film like artists, they only allow you to film for like 90 seconds for each,
It's
for
quick.
3 songs, So they give you 3 songs, 90 seconds, and you're out of there.
Is this
That's
all
it.
handheld or what's your rig?
I didn't have that moment. I have a monopod
Monopod? Okay,
Okay.
got it.
during that time. And then, all right, I'm good, let's go. I met him and he was like, hey, Armando, like, you're ready? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm ready.
Are you excited? What are
I'm
you feeling?
excited. Yeah, sure. I'm with my little camera and everybody with like a freaking ass big ass camera. It's like, I got this, whatever. And then I remember, like, I still remember the reporter looking at me. I was like, who is this guy? Like, this is such a young kid. Like now we're hiring like young kids, or like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Is this
do you
legal?
do you have a
Is this
picture of this? I'm curious, like, if you have any pictures of like you.
I have a picture. I have a picture.
You send it after, if anything.
I can send it after, but I have a picture of myself filming my first event with Prince Royce. And anyway, so we get into security. They get you like checked up and everything.
You passes and all that.
Yeah, passes for press, and you get obviously they escort you for the entire venue to go to the kind of like the area where they do the interviews. And I see Prince Royce, and I was like, and then like I got what is called like celebrity shock.
Starstruck.
Oh,
Starstruck.
Yeah.
shoot.
Yeah.
So you froze up?
I froze up a bit, and then my producer's like, you gotta film him entering. And I was like, okay, there you go, we good.
Oh, shit.
And then they started. We were the last ones to get an interview with him, so I had a chance to set up my camera. We're good. Then I turned my light. That thing, it was like those cheap lights that converts the color to like magenta.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But in the camera, not like it's a very cheap.
Yeah.
So it wasn't matching at all with the scene.
Yeah. So I was like adjusting it. Okay, I adjusted a little bit, and then we're good to roll. Yeah, we're good. Okay, we start rolling, and they start like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I see my battery dropping. I was like, okay, this must be good. Like I need to make it, and I didn't know we need to do intros and outros after this. Until like when we finished the interview, my boss told me, it's like, hey, my producer is like, hey, we need to do intros and outros, like, and because it's pre-recorded.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
Keep going. I'm just gonna
This,
check the camera.
this must be good. Whatever.
Yeah. Now that's just you and me. You can tell me all the good stuff.
Okay. So, anyways, I go to film the show that we were filming for Prince Royce, and you know, like when you're so close to the speakers, your mics start like picking out and like very like bad, like red completely. So it was picking out, and I started lowering the volume of the power of the camera, and for some reason I lowered to like 0 or something pick up on my camera speakers that like blow it out. So I wasn't picking audio for a while. So in the entire concert that I filmed was completely silent.
Just
silent.
My God, no noise.
No noise at all.
No reference audio. Nothing.
No reference audio. It was silence. And I was like, I didn't know until we got to at home and checked the footage. But okay, I filmed that, and I was like, I think I was about like 20% on my battery, because those cameras don't last that long. They're like 30 minutes,
They're
35
not
minutes.
video
film.
cameras. Yeah, I don't think they're like video.
At the time, that was meant more for photo, I believe.
Yeah, they got like some video features, but
I started off with a 60D.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing, but clearly. But yeah.
I heard the 60D, or I think it's the 80D.
Those that line was a good starting point for video.
Yeah, it's a good starting point.
Yeah.
And I remember my producer calls me and it's like, hey, you know, like we had this artist that is gonna show up in Prince Royce, and we need to film it. We need to interview him.
My God, was your heart like?
And my heart started like bumping. I was like checking the battery. It's like, okay, just praying at that point. I was like, okay, we'll see.
And you weren't saying anything to anybody, right? You were just keeping it to yourself.
Yeah, I was keeping it to myself.
Don't
I was
start
like,
a panic.
And remember, I got impressed as producer to actually keep working with him.
because it's day one. I keep forgetting this day one. Oh,
so I can't tell him, hey, I forgot my battery is at home.
There's like no rapport still at this point. Nothing.
All first impressions. Yeah, of course.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, that's good.
It's that meme with the fire with the dog. Like, oh, this is fine.
This is fine. And in my mind, I was like, if this something it gets through for any reason, I'll just pull out my phone and just like capture the interview, whatever, and live for something that my camera broke or something, whatever. And then we ended up filming the event, and I was like at 5% at the end after the interviewing. And my producer was like, okay, we're gonna go and film intro and outro for the studio. And I was like, okay, I'm just still praying. I was like, oh, hopefully this is gonna last me until like those intro and outro. And right in the outro, it cut off.
Right when you finish the outro?
No, before we started the outro, it cut off. So we couldn't finish the outro.
So you had an intro at least?
We had an intro, we didn't have an outro.
Okay.
And the producer, he was like, hey man, like, do you have an extra battery? I was like, no, I don't. Actually, he was like, okay. He took it like very like, not bad at all. He was like,
Thank God it was at that point though.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it'd be worse if you didn't film an intro.
Yeah.
Then at that point,
And it's not like, we're in Madison Square Garden. Where the heck I'm going to charge my battery? Like I can go to
you
maybe...
have your battery charger on you?
Yeah, I had it, but...
I mean, that thing was
At
going
that
to take
point,
forever.
It's going to take forever. It's going to take like 2 hours just,
Yeah.
And the reporter needs to leave too. They're getting paid hourly too, or whatever they get paid, but they need to leave too. So anyway, so my producer was like, no worries. I'll talk to the channel that we didn't do the outro, and he saved my butt in that.
So he had your back?
He got my back, but once we went to transfer the footage, because they're actually gonna send it edited in Miami.
Hey, there's no audio.
There's no audio in Prince Royce, and I was like, what do you mean there is no audio?
Wait, so that's what I was gonna ask. So you didn't know that there was no audio, or you knew at that time there was?
I didn't know.
Oh, you didn't know. Okay,
I knew that
okay.
was peaking,
Oh
and I
my
started
God.
like changing the audio levels, do something to in order to not peak. But I don't know, something happens that blew up my camera, mics or something, because there was no audio there.
I can imagine. So Armando's like, okay, outro was the worst thing that
I'm in the
happened.
clear.
We're in the clear. I'm good. All right. Goes home. So when do you find this out? Is this like the same day when you find out the audio, or like what was that?
It was the same day, because every time I used to finish with anything with him, we used to transfer each other footage just in case.
Back up, all that.
Yeah, back up. And I used to like also go home and rearrange the footage to edit. But he started checking the audio file, like checking the concert audio. He's like, okay, this is good, this is good, this is good. He checks the concert and he's like, wait, there's no audio here.
Oh.
Like Prince Royce singing, but there's no audio
nothing.
here.
And what's your initial thought? Like, what happens to you when you hear this? Like, when this happens?
I was like, no, I'm screwed. That's it. Like,
Game over.
I quit my job, and they're not gonna give me a
Like,
second
I gave it a
chance.
shot. I had a good run in this industry, and you know, that's it.
Like my first like 2 hours in the industry, and I already fucked it up. And I was like, good.
All right.
Good.
Wow.
So the good thing is that it said to me is that the person who was running the concert, it was also they were live airing the concert to in another radio that I know the person there. So we had a chance to talk to that radio station.
Wow.
And funny enough, the host that works in that radio station, I met her through the first show that I filmed.
Oh, okay.
Azteca, the one.
So now, before you get into that, did you come up with that solution of like, okay, how can I fix this? Or was this the producer coming to you and be like, hey, reach out to, like, who thought of this to go down this route?
So he's actually knew that they were airing that show. So he found out the radio station that was airing the event.
Okay.
And then we both reached out to he reached out to one of the managers in that radio station. I reached out to the host and see if we can get some audio files. And we ended up getting them. I don't remember it was through the host or through the manager in that radio station. I don't remember well. But we ended up getting it from the radio station.
Saved the day.
And that saved us because we match it to like when he enters and like boom, it matched. And it's like beautiful.
How did the producer react? Like, handling all that? Like,
Well, he kind of understood that I was coming from a studio environment, so he was like, he gave me some advice too, because he was like, hey, I understand you coming from a studio environment. He told me like, hey, next time get a few batteries.
I mean, also you're 16, right?
I was 16.
So it's like, how mad can you
Like, how
possibly
mad you
be
can
at
be.
like a 16-year-old
Yeah.
in this situation?
So he was just like, hey, no worries, we get it next time. I think
he's like, yes, next time. Okay, go. There's the next
All right,
time.
still got it.
Yeah.
And I remember that day after I got home, I told my parents I fucked it up so much, and then my parents like, oh, don't worry, you'll get another chance. We'll see. Like, don't put yourself in that.
No te preocupes, mijo.
Yeah.
Hit you with one of those.
That's why. Yeah. So, anyways, he called me for another gig. I don't remember what was the gig, but he called me for another gig, and then from there start like rolling for all their events, and worked with him for 2 years.
Wow.
So now let's talk about the transition from broadcasting TV, covering all these artists, working for Telemundo. Where does the transition happen to weddings?
To weddings?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was before the pandemic. I was already my second year with Telemundo. I was actually going to my second year, finishing my second year with them. And I get this call from one of the hosts from the Así Somos show, from the How We Are, the one that I filmed first time. Mm-hmm. She calls me. One of them, she was a wedding planner, and she was like, hey, I got a wedding. I remember you. You were such a nice guy. You always got me, like, you're a nice. Are you still filming? And I'm like, yeah, I filmed for this channel. She was like, okay, are you down to do weddings? And I was like, sure. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it's about, but like I'll go online and find out a couple of weddings and check how they're doing it, and like I'll go and film it. And she told me like, don't tell the bride that you never had shot a wedding.
So she knows you never shot a wedding.
Yeah, she knew that I never shot a wedding, but she told me, I trust you because if you were able to film a show, like how the heck you're not gonna be able to do a wedding?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember this time I charged like $700 for that. Like it was like I didn't know how much.
We were close. My first one was 800.
800.
So we were
But
close,
you know the thing is that actually I got
wow.
a second shooter, so I paid him $350.
Oh, so you only profited like what, 350?
$350, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
But I really want to do this wedding pretty good.
A second shooter at your first wedding. Was that, you're saying you got a second shooter at your first
Yeah,
wedding?
I
Now,
got a
who was
second
this
shooter.
person? Was this someone in broadcasting or was it someone in the industry?
I actually got it from a friend.
Okay.
I asked him, hey, you know any videographer around the area? Because at that time I was in the broadcasting environment, so I didn't know anyone outside of the broadcasting.
So I'm curious, like, how did you get to that decision? Because, like, for me, it took me a long time to be like, yo, I need a second shooter or an assistant.
I didn't know they were a thing.
Yeah, so, like-
I was just like, yeah, you show up and do
Right,
these
you
things
just
by
film
yourself.
it by yourself,
You just
whatever.
need to set up all the cameras yourself. schedule at a time. And, you're
and
good.
also, like, I wasn't making enough money where I was like, no, I don't want to take that cut. Or so, like,
Yeah.
how did you have that foresight or whatever to be like, hey, I'm gonna bring somebody else to help me? And did that person have wedding experience or no?
No, it was their first wedding too.
Oh wow.
So it was like, so the guy actually was filming like, I think music videos. So he never filmed a wedding. I trust him. I was like, all right, your work is good. Like, it must be good for weddings.
Yeah.
What made you want to get a second shooter?
What made me, I just like, during that time, I really wanted to do it right. And I saw a lot of like YouTube channels where they say like, oh, get a second shooter if you can. Like, you know, it's gonna help you get at different angles, be more productive.
Yeah,
during
don't
the
be like
wedding.
me, just holding a gimbal all freaking day
All
by
day,
myself, like struggling.
And just put it.
I'll never forget like doing my first, like obviously being by myself. I was running to the tripod, checking, making sure it's on, and then I have to come in here, boom, set the gimbal, and then I'd strategically set the gimbal down, make sure it's a usable angle, run back, make sure, I think at the time my camera didn't have that, it still has like the 30-minute recording limit, so I'm like, okay, stop, start, run back,
and
bop,
forth.
next, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, actually, with him it was pretty cool because both of them, we were pretty new to the industry, so we kind of like try to help each other. We actually didn't have a tripod, so what we did is like 2 gimbals for the ceremony. You get the groom side,
here.
I get the bride side.
What time of year was this?
Jesus, that's like 2000.
No, I mean, was it like a summer
Like
wedding?
fall, yeah.
Oh, it was like
imagine summer just,
No, because that's what I'm saying. Those summer
Yeah.
weddings, because I used to do
Sweating.
that when I was first starting in the summer. Noon, hot as hell, the peak like summer season.
wearing all black
and I'm wearing all
probably,
black,
yeah.
and I'm there standing. Hurry up and finish your vows. Come on! And I'm standing there with the gimbal because I didn't know. I didn't realize. Hey, genius! Set up another camera with a tripod.
I think it was in October. It wasn't that hot. It was in October. The venue was, I think, they were getting married in a place where it was close to the residential building. Like they had the residential building had a place for events, and it looks kind of nice. So the event planner planned this, and like she was doing this at last minute. She pulled off this wedding in 2 months.
Oh shit! Okay.
So because I don't know what happened, but like they wanted to get married super fast. And she saw the only option to hire a videographer in October, peak season.
Yeah.
Armando.
Oh, true.
Wow.
Everybody was booked by then.
Yeah.
so how much of a notice did you have?
like 2 weeks.
Okay.
2-week notice. So you go in. Each of you has one camera, gimbals.
So within 2 weeks, he's already finding a second shooter.
Found a second shooter.
He's watching a bunch of YouTube videos,
Watching
right?
YouTube videos.
Watching a bunch of
So-
YouTube video.
Getting informed. Did you also have audio gear?
No.
Okay, I was about to
So
say.
you never, wait, you never, after that incident, you never like decided, okay, I'm gonna get a new mic or anything, or?
You know,
Oh,
you,
the first incident.
you gotta learn again, you know, like
I gotta learn.
so I was like, weddings, I'm like, oh, maybe it's like a music video, right? I was like,
You
oh,
put it all after.
you put it all
Yeah,
after. And I
do
was
it
like,
later.
yo. And then I remember I just got my little Rode mic in front of my camera. I was like, this must be good for everything. Like,
Yeah.
just, it's gonna pick the audio. Like, I know.
I'm gonna be all the way in the back. You're gonna say the vows, and it's gonna be.
Amazing.
But it's crazy because like we laugh at it, but you really don't know any better, right? Like
No.
all you're worried about is visual. You're starting out. You just want to make sure, does it look good, right? Like you can put something together. You know your editing skills at that point are probably like better than
Bro,
most. So
I
you're
think
like,
for me, from when I shot my first wedding till I got an audio recorder, I think that was like a 2-year period where I filmed weddings with just on-camera audio.
Really?
Like Rode mics. I mean, obviously I wasn't getting paid that much, but still it was like,
yeah.
I was, because my edits at the time were just like music highlights. So like, yeah, that music video type
Right.
of approach, where it's just like, I'm gonna put together this quick thing, a few minutes long maybe, with music, and who cares about the audio? Like I wasn't into the whole storytelling element yet.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
feel you.
Yeah, I know it was fine. At the end of the day, the couple, it wasn't. I always feel like couples are more in the budget side, especially that budget side.
Yeah.
They're not gonna care that much if the audio didn't come out that right.
Right.
Or they just, at least they were able to afford a video, right?
Right.
At that point.
They just want to see something.
So how did
Yeah.
it go day of? Was there anything that happened? Bad moments, good
This
moments?
guy's just asking about bad moments. Not
I
like-
just because that's what this. That's
So,
we're talking about gossip broadcast. We're giving them a.
I would say that probably nothing wrong came just a photographer. I met a photographer, which funny enough, after I worked with him, we met again a year ago, and we talked about this wedding for a long time.
Nice.
But the photographer was very experienced, so actually he had a lot of experience. I didn't have none of the experience on the wedding industry, so I just kind of like just followed him during the day.
Did you tell him that, or did you?
No, he didn't know.
Okay.
He thought I was experienced. I was like, yeah, I always had this idea where like if I don't know something, at least I like it. Yeah. So at least obviously if you wanna like, don't do it if you're filming it, but if you have time to plan it, then talk to someone to get some help. But during that time, I didn't know anyone, so I was just all right. I was just.
But you did your due diligence. You were watching videos. Yeah. You were doing research rather than just showing up and be like, all right, whatever happens, happens.
No, I did my due diligence. I had an ND filter at that time.
There we go.
I got an ND.
Let's go.
I got an ND.
Still kit lens?
Kit lens.
Still kit lens.
Kit lens.
How long of a day was this? Was it like a full full day shoot?
Yeah, it was like a 10-hour coverage. We were staying to the end.
How'd your body feel the next day?
Horrible.
Because that first wedding, I
yeah,
feel like
you get,
your first wedding,
that.
your first full day wedding, the next day, your body is like, you've never felt this feeling before.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't move from bed literally the entire day after my first wedding.
Yeah, I forget about that.
The pain that my legs, my whole body was in, bro, I don't know about you, but it was bad.
It was my arms because of having to hold that gimbal all
That too.
day.
Yep.
You just experience like I can't do
And
anything.
Joe, my first wedding was 8 a.m. till 11 or 12 p.m.
Jeez.
So it was like, what, that's like 16 hours?
That's 16 hours.
Yeah.
No, the good thing is that at least the planner, because like the planner, she had more experience. Thank you.
All right, come on, we're filming a podcast here.
Benefits of filming outside. We love it.
So she actually helped me with hours. She was like, when you come in, I was like, I don't know. She was like, okay, I'll put you with the photographer. So the photographer had like 10 hours of coverage, so she put me with the photographer.
So many things that I wish I would have done, because man, I was just like, well, makeup starts at 8. All right, cool, I'll start covering makeup at 8. You know, I spent like 4 hours just like getting makeup and like the venue, and then just kind of like being like, all right, just wait.
But see, that's a good way to go about it rather than being.
Because I didn't know what was going to happen. Literally, had no idea what I was getting myself into.
It isn't until you do a couple of weddings where you start to realize, oh, I don't need to really film this stuff.
Or I don't need as much of it. You know?
Yeah.
Now I do the same equivalent of makeup shots I did in that day. I'll do in like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, but it's different. You know?
Yeah, no, you learn as you go. I feel like there is not like actually a school for weddings. Like there's always like, even as many videos as you watch, you need to get that experience to like understand like other factors of weddings.
Yeah, experience is the best teacher there.
Well, nowadays, right, like we're living in a time, and I know you're part of like a community of like wedding filmmakers and things of that nature. Same way, like I didn't shoot my first wedding until I had full-time filmmaker, because I was just like, I don't feel personally confident enough to just like wing this, because this is like my first year in video, so I need to like figure out like what exactly I need to have, the poses, all these different things. So I just remember like binging all of it. And then until finally I started doing like promo work. So it was like doing promo videos for NLE, and I was doing like just basic highlights. It was low risk to everyone, including the bride, including, you know, I'd come in, I'd shoot just the DJs, I'd shoot the party scene. I'd get there for the ceremony, but I wasn't like required to film it.
You didn't need to document everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't until I was like, okay, like let me do this, like if I want to really get into this industry, let me take advantage of the fact that I'm here. Like I'm already, you know, I already have the okay to start filming while there's other.
This wasn't conflicting with like other vendors, like other videographers?
Not. So the way that we went about it was day of, I would always introduce myself. The vendors didn't know that I was showing up, but I made sure to be like, hey, I don't want to get in your way. You know, like I am not important. I want to be as far away. But there were some weddings where there were no videographers at all. So I, you know, just be a photographer, and that's one less person you really have.
So that's where you can capitalize for real, because there's no one there.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's fun to go down memory lane and think about like what we've sort of experienced, all like the worst things that have happened to us, and then now we're at a point where we have different problems, right?
Yeah.
Like it's still problems nevertheless.
I don't have any problems. I don't know about
you're
you.
perfect.
You don't have any problems at all? Like
He wasn't just telling me before we started filming, hey man, I don't know about you, this week.
Hey, I have no problems. While the cameras are rolling, I have zero problems.
I think we're about, last time I checked, we were in like the hour and.
We're probably at an
change
hour and a
mark.
half right now.
Yeah, we're like an hour and a half, and the batteries were like about 50%. So, I don't know if you had any like closing or.
I mean, what's next for you? Like what's next for?
What are you currently working on?
You know, what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm currently working on. So right now I'm actually trying to like do a whole rebranding of my company, just because once you get to that point where like you film enough weddings and you're kind of like start getting your ideal clientele, you start like finding ways to improve in that area and get to that market, right? So just working on a rebranding for the company and
For sure.
yeah.
Sweet. Love it.
Sweet.
Very well.
Oh, this
No,
is great.
It's been great. Armando, thank you again for coming.
The only last thing before we go is where can people find you? You know, where should they go if they're looking for information from you?
Sure. So I'll aim this camera. You can find me at Instagram. I have only Instagram and TikTok, so you can go at Armando View. You can search me over there. You can also go by my website, armandoview.com. Search if you guys are interested or watch a couple of films or have fun watching some of my films, so you can go to that website. Yeah.
All right. Very
Awesome.
nice. We'll be obviously sure to put his info down below as well. And Armando, again, brother, appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Damn it! I was trying to get the handshake. Yo, I gotta pee.
Okay.
I'm out.
Woo!
I'm out.
It's a wrap.